The massive windows of the Imperial flagship Eternal Dawn showed nothing but endless stars, each one representing another world under the Empire's control. Admiral Gray stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his silver uniform reflecting the soft blue light of the bridge's holographic displays. He was tired, but he wouldn't show it. Not now. Not when they had found something new. "Report," he ordered, his voice carrying across the quiet bridge. The crew worked at their stations, their six-fingered hands moving quickly across the control panels. Officer Tom, the youngest of the bridge crew, looked up from his scanning station. His green skin had a slightly paler shade than usual, showing his excitement. "Admiral, we've confirmed it. The signals are coming from the third planet of this yellow star. And they're artificial." Gray walked over to Tom's station, his boots making no sound on the polished floor. The screen showed a beautiful blue-green planet wrapped in white clouds. It looked peaceful, primitive, perfect for adding to the Empire's collection. "How advanced are they?" Gray asked, studying the readings. "They have basic space travel, sir. We detected several orbital stations and a small base on their moon. Their ships use simple fusion drives. No sign of advanced gravity control or energy shields." Tom paused, checking another reading. "But there's something odd about their communications." Gray raised an eyebrow. "Odd how?" "They use many different types of signals. Some are basic radio waves, others are quantum encrypted. It's like they couldn't decide on one technology, so they're using everything at once." The Admiral frowned. In his 30 years of serving the Empire, he had never seen a species do that. Usually, civilizations followed a clear path of technological growth. This was different. "Show me their global communications," he ordered. The main screen lit up with thousands of signal traces, military channels, civilian broadcasts, entertainment networks, and countless encrypted transmissions. It was chaos, but somehow it all worked together. "What do we know about their weapons?" Gray asked, following standard procedure. The Empire always checked military capability first. Officer Tom pulled up another screen. "That's another strange thing, sir. They have weapons ranging from simple chemical explosives to antimatter devices. Some of their ships carry rail guns, others have plasma weapons. There's no standardization." A senior analyst, Officer Reed, spoke up from his station. "Sir, I've been studying their visible history through their public networks. They call themselves humans. Their planet is Earth. And—" he hesitated. "Go on," Gray said. "They spend more on military development than any species we've encountered at this tech level. Almost every major technological breakthrough they've made came from military research." Gray walked back to the window, thinking. Something felt wrong. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen a species so scattered in their development. It was as if they were preparing for every possible type of war. "Sir," Tom called out, his voice urgent. "They've detected us. Their military channels just lit up." Gray smiled. This was the part he knew well. New species always panicked when they detected an Imperial ship. It made conquest so much easier. But the smile faded as he watched the humans' response. There was no panic. Their communications didn't increase. Instead, most of them went silent. Only a few channels remained active, transmitting what looked like weather reports and civilian broadcasts. "They're hiding," Gray realized. "Send the standard first contact message. Inform High Command that we found a new species for integration into the Empire." He paused, then added, "And tell them to send more ships. Something about this feels different." As the crew rushed to obey his orders, Gray continued staring at the blue planet. The Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds. This would be no different. Yet, as he watched the humans' military channels go dark one by one, a strange feeling crept into his mind. For the first time in his career, Admiral Gray felt uncertain. 3 days after their arrival, the Empire's diplomatic vessel, Golden Promise, entered Earth orbit. It was smaller than the Eternal Dawn but still impressive, its golden hull designed to show the Empire's wealth and power. The ship carried the standard first contact team. 20 diplomats, 50 guards, and enough firepower to level a small city. Admiral Gray watched from the eternal dawn as Earth finally responded to their hails. A single human ship approached the Golden Promise. It was small, black, and had no visible weapons. Gray found this suspicious. In his experience, species always sent their most impressive ships to first contact meetings. "Sir," Officer Tom called out, "the human ship is requesting direct communication with our diplomatic vessel. They're sending only one person." Gray nodded. This was normal. Most species were cautious during first contact. "Put it on the main screen. I want to observe." The screen lit up, showing the diplomatic chamber aboard the Golden Promise. 6 Imperial diplomats sat at their side of the table, their green skin and ornate robes contrasting with the golden walls. The door on the human side opened. A single man walked in. He wore a plain black uniform with no medals or decorations, just a small patch that read UEDF, United Earth Defense Force. His name tag said, "Commander Stone." "Welcome to Earth space," Stone said, his voice calm and professional. "I'll keep this brief." The lead Imperial diplomat, Lord Venn, started his practiced speech. "Greetings from the Galactic Empire. We come to offer you the privilege of—" "Stop," Stone interrupted. The diplomats looked shocked. No one interrupted the Empire's greeting. "Before you continue, I have a message from Earth's United Governments." Gray leaned forward in his chair, watching closely. Something was very wrong here. The human showed no fear, no awe at Imperial technology. He acted like this was a routine meeting. Stone placed a small device on the table. It projected a series of images: ancient human battles, world wars, modern conflicts, and space engagements with asteroids. "This is our history," Stone said. "Earth has seen approximately 15,000 wars. We fought over land, resources, beliefs, and sometimes just to prove we could win. Every major advancement we've made came from trying to find better ways to fight." The diplomats shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't following the usual script. "Right now, your ships are scanning us, measuring our technology," Stone continued. "You see primitive fusion drives and basic weapons. What you don't see is that every piece of technology we own has been tested in combat. Against ourselves. For thousands of years." Lord Venn tried to speak again, but Stone held up his hand. "Here's our message. Look at our history. Study it carefully. If you still want to proceed after that, we won't stop you. But understand this. Humans have spent our entire existence fighting ourselves. We're very, very good at it." Stone's eyes hardened. "If you're wise, you'll run." The diplomatic chamber fell silent. Lord Venn looked outraged, but before he could respond, Stone stood up. "We're giving you 72 hours to study the historical records we've provided. After that, any Imperial ship within 1 light-year of Earth will be considered hostile." He walked to the door, then turned back. "And Admiral Gray." On the eternal dawn, Gray sat up straighter. How did they know he was watching? "Your stealth probes need work. We detected them 3 weeks ago." The door closed behind Stone, leaving the Imperial diplomats in stunned silence. On the Eternal Dawn's bridge, Officer Tom spoke quietly. "Sir, the human ship is leaving. Should we stop them?" Gray watched the small black ship return to Earth. "No," he said slowly. "Begin analyzing those historical records. I want to know everything about human warfare. Something tells me we're not dealing with a normal primitive species." As he stared at the blue planet below, Gray remembered an old saying: "Those who are truly dangerous don't need to prove it." For the first time in Imperial history, someone had threatened them. Not with weapons or technology, but with a warning. And deep in his gut, Gray knew this warning was different. It wasn't a bluff. It was a courtesy. The Imperial War Council chamber was massive, its high ceiling lost in shadows above. 12 council members sat around a circular table, their faces lit by the holographic display showing Earth in its blue glory. Admiral Gray stood in the center, finishing his report about the humans' warning. "So," High General Max said, leaning back in his chair, "these primitives think they can threaten the Empire." His laugh echoed through the chamber. Others joined in, but Gray noticed some weren't laughing. "With respect, General," Gray said, keeping his voice steady, "I believe we should take their warning seriously. The historical records they provided are disturbing." He gestured, and the hologram changed to show scenes from Earth's World War II. Tanks rolling across fields, planes dropping bombs, ships battling in vast oceans. This was just one of their wars, from when they only had basic engines and simple weapons. They called it a world war. They had two of them. Council member Pete, the oldest in the room, waved his hand dismissively. "Primitive warfare. We have energy shields, gravity weapons, and ships that can destroy planets. What do they have? Chemical rockets and railguns." Gray pressed a button, and the hologram changed again. "This is from 3 days ago. Our stealth probes recorded this." The image showed a human space station appearing to malfunction, then explode. As Imperial rescue ships approached to observe, the station's debris suddenly came to life, revealing hidden weapons that would have shredded the rescue ships if they'd been real. "They knew our probes were watching," Gray explained. "They staged this demonstration. The station was never destroyed. It was all a trick. They're showing us they can turn anything into a weapon, even debris." The chamber fell quiet for a moment. Then High General Max stood up, his massive frame casting a shadow over the table. "Enough. We are the Empire. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Our smallest ship could destroy their largest city. Their tricks and primitive weapons mean nothing." He turned to the council. "I propose we launch a standard conquest. The 7th Fleet should be more than enough. 300 warships against their handful of orbital platforms. It will be over in a day." Most council members nodded in agreement. Gray tried one last time. "The humans don't fight like other species. They've spent thousands of years perfecting the art of war." They are primitives," Max shouted. "Their most advanced ship still uses chemical rockets. Their weapons are toys compared to ours. This warning of theirs, it's a bluff from a species that knows it can't win." The council voted. 11 for invasion, 1 abstaining. Gray noticed it was council member Pete who didn't vote, the old man studying the hologram of Earth with worried eyes. "The vote is clear," Max announced. "Admiral Gray, you will lead the 7th Fleet in a standard conquest pattern. Destroy their moon base first. That always frightens primitives into submission. When they surrender, we'll be merciful. That's the Imperial way." Gray bowed, hiding his frustration. "As you command. When do we begin?" "Immediately," Max said. "Show these humans what real power looks like." As the council members filed out, Pete stopped beside Gray. "Admiral," the old man said quietly, "in all our history, no species has ever warned us to run. They either fought or surrendered. These humans," he glanced at the hologram again, "they're different. Be careful." Gray nodded, watching Earth slowly rotate in the holographic display. The humans had given them 72 hours to study their history and leave. Instead, the Empire had spent those hours planning their conquest. Back on the Eternal Dawn, Gray found Officer Tom waiting with a report. "Sir, we've finished analyzing their historical records. There's something you need to see." "What is it?" Gray asked, though he had a feeling he knew what was coming. "Sir, in their entire history, humans have never surrendered to a superior force. Not once. They fight harder when outmatched." Tom looked pale. "And sir, they're mobilizing their forces, but not like other species do." "What do you mean?" "They're not gathering their ships for defense. They're spreading them out, like they're following a plan they've had for years." Tom swallowed hard. "Sir, I think they were expecting us. Not hoping for us, but expecting us. Gray looked out at the stars, remembering Commander Stone's words. We're very, very good at it. Soon, they would find out just how good humans were at war, and Gray had a feeling the Empire wasn't going to like the answer. The moon exploded beautifully. The Empire's energy weapons turned Earth's only natural satellite into a spectacular light show. Admiral Gray watched from the bridge of the Eternal Dawn as chunks of moon rock scattered across space. First phase complete, Officer Tom reported. The human moon base has been destroyed. Gray waited for the panic, for the desperate calls for mercy that always followed such a display of power. Instead, there was silence. No transmissions, no distress calls, nothing. Sir, Tom's voice cracked with alarm. The moon debris, it's moving against gravity. Gray rushed to the viewing screen. The scattered moon rocks weren't floating randomly anymore. They were forming patterns, moving with purpose. Then he saw it, metal glinting within the rocks. It's a trap, he whispered. The moon base was a shell. The real base was inside the moon. Hidden weapons platforms emerged from the debris, their hulls made to look like moon rock. They had been waiting, disguised as part of the moon's surface. Now, surrounded by scattered chunks of real moon rock, they were nearly impossible to track. Evasive action. Gray shouted, but it was too late. The human weapons opened fire. Not with energy beams or plasma. They used simple metal slugs, accelerated to incredible speeds. The Empire's energy shields, designed to stop energy weapons, did little against solid projectiles moving at near light speed. 20 Imperial ships exploded before they could react. Return fire, Gray ordered. The Imperial fleet launched their most powerful energy weapons. Most missed. The humans were using the moon debris as cover, appearing just long enough to fire before hiding again. Sir, new contacts. Tom's hands flew over his console. Hundreds of small ships launching from Earth. They're coming from everywhere. From the oceans, from underground bases, even from what we thought were civilian stations. Gray watched in horror as swarms of human vessels approached. They were tiny compared to Imperial ships, but they moved like nothing he'd ever seen. They didn't fly in formation. Each ship seemed to follow its own random path, making them impossible to target effectively. They're in range, an officer reported. Our targeting computers can't lock on. Their movement patterns make no sense. The human ships opened fire. Each one carried different weapons. Some fired railguns, others launched missiles, some used electronic warfare to confuse Imperial systems. There was no pattern, no standard attack formation. It was chaos. And in that chaos, humans thrived. We've lost 30 more ships, Tom reported. Sir, they're not trying to destroy us. They're hurting us. Gray saw it too late. The Imperial fleet, trying to avoid the swarms of small ships, had been pushed into a specific position. Suddenly, the scattered moon debris shifted, revealing massive rail gun platforms hidden among the rocks. All ships, break formation, Gray ordered, but the trap was already sprung. The rail guns fired. Thousands of metal projectiles, each barely larger than a human fist, tore through the Imperial fleet. Ships designed to withstand energy weapons were ripped apart by simple kinetic force. Retreat, Gray commanded. Get us out of this kill zone. As the Imperial ships tried to escape, the human vessels struck again. They didn't chase the retreating ships. Instead, they fired strange devices that attached to Imperial hulls. Sir, they're not weapons, Tom reported, studying his readings. They're transmitters. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. A voice filled every channel, every communication system. It was Commander Stone. This was your warning shot, he said calmly. We destroyed a third of your fleet without using any of our advanced weapons. Leave now, and we'll let you go. Stay, and you'll find out why humans have survived 15,000 wars. Gray looked at the casualty reports. 100 Imperial ships destroyed. the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, decimated by primitives, using simple weapons and clever tactics. "Signal the retreat," he ordered quietly, "and send all battle data to High Command. They need to see this." As the surviving Imperial ships fled, Gray understood what made humans different. The Empire had perfected war technology. Humans had perfected war itself. Admiral Gray sat alone in his private quarters aboard the Eternal Dawn, surrounded by holographic displays showing Earth's military history. His eyes were tired from reading, but he couldn't stop. With each new file, the truth became clearer and more terrifying. A knock at his door interrupted his studies. "Enter," he called out. Officer Tom walked in, carrying more data chips. He stopped when he saw the Admiral's face. "Sir, are you all right?" "No," Gray answered honestly. "I just finished reading about something humans call guerrilla warfare." "Have you seen this?" Tom shook his head. "Sit down," Gray said, pressing a button. A hologram appeared, showing ancient human warriors hiding in jungles, attacking larger forces, then disappearing. This is how smaller human forces beat larger ones. They never fought fair. They didn't try to match strength with strength. Instead, they found weaknesses and struck there. He changed the display, showing more recent battles. "Look at this. In every war, humans adapted. When one side built better armor, the other didn't just build stronger weapons. They found ways around the armor completely. They never stopped thinking of new ways to fight. Like using the moon debris as cover," Tom said, understanding dawning on his face. "Exactly." Gray stood up and paced the room. "The Empire has been doing everything wrong. We perfect one type of technology, one way of fighting. Humans." He gestured at the displays. "Humans perfect warfare itself. Every failure taught them something new. Every defeat made them stronger." He picked up a data chip. "This is from their World War I. One side had better technology, more resources, and larger armies. They should have won easily, but they lost. Because the other side adapted faster, fought differently, and never gave up." Tom looked worried. "Sir, the War Council is meeting in an hour. They're planning a full assault. All available fleets." Gray nodded grimly. "Of course they are, because that's how the Empire always wins, with overwhelming force." He turned to another display, showing the recent battle. "But look what humans did to our ships. They didn't use advanced technology. They used simple weapons in clever ways." He pointed to different scenes from the battle. Rail guns hidden in moon debris, small ships with random flight patterns, electronic warfare we've never seen before. Each human ship fought differently, making it impossible to counter them all. "But sir," Tom said, "surely with all our fleets." "Numbers won't matter," Gray interrupted. "Don't you see? This is what humans have done for their entire history. They've spent thousands of years learning every possible way to fight. Their technology isn't primitive, it's purposely built for war. Everything they make, from their simplest probe to their largest ship, is designed to become a weapon if needed." He brought up Commander Stone's warning message again. "They warned us because they knew what would happen. They've seen this before in their own history. Powerful empires defeated by smaller forces who simply knew how to fight better." Tom was quiet for a moment. "What do we do?" "We have to warn the Council," Gray said, gathering data chips. "Show them what I found. Make them understand that we're not facing primitives. We're facing the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy." As they hurried to the Council chamber, Gray's displays kept playing. Scene after scene of human warfare through the ages, each war different from the last. Each battle showing new tactics, new ideas, new ways of thinking. "You know what's most frightening," Gray said as they walked. "In all these wars, all these battles, I've never once seen humans use their full strength. Even when fighting themselves, they held back. What will they do when fighting an alien empire that threatens their entire species?" Tom looked pale. "We're about to find out, aren't we?" "Yes," Gray said quietly. and I don't think the Empire is ready for the answer. The Empire's combined fleet was a sight that had made 1,000 worlds surrender. 2,000 warships filled Earth's solar system, their energy weapons charged and ready. High General Max stood on his command ship, the Imperial Fist, watching his forces gather. "See," he said to Admiral Gray, who stood quietly beside him. "This is real power. No primitive species can stand against this." Gray said nothing. He was watching the human response to their arrival. There was no panic, no desperate transmissions. Earth's ships simply moved into defensive positions, calm and organized. "Begin the attack," Max ordered. "Show them what happens when you defy the Empire." The Imperial fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their energy weapons creating a web of destructive power that nothing should survive. But as they entered the inner solar system, strange things began to happen. First, their targeting systems started showing thousands of false signals. Every piece of space debris, every small rock, appeared as a potential threat. Then their communication channels filled with random signals. Music, old military broadcasts, and strange patterns that made no sense. "Ignore it," Max commanded. "Press forward." The fleet approached Mars, ready to use it as a staging point. That's when the first surprise hit them. The red planet's surface shifted, massive doors opening to reveal hidden shipyards and weapon platforms. Mars itself was a fortress. "Impossible," Max shouted. "Our scans showed nothing." "Because they didn't want us to see it," Gray said quietly. "Just like the moon base." The Mars defense platforms opened fire, but instead of normal weapons, they launched clouds of tiny robots. These machines attached themselves to Imperial ships, not damaging them, but changing their sensor readings. Suddenly, Imperial ships couldn't tell friend from foe. "Switch to visual targeting," Max ordered. But that's when the second surprise came. The asteroid belt came alive. What they thought were rocks began moving, revealing themselves as camouflaged human ships and weapon platforms. They had been waiting there, perfectly still, looking exactly like natural asteroids. "All ships, fall back," Max shouted. But it was too late. Earth's main fleet finally moved. Their ships didn't use fancy energy weapons or advanced shields. They used simple, proven weapons: railguns, missiles, and electronic warfare. Each ship fought differently, making it impossible to counter them all at once. "Our shields are useless," an officer reported. "They're using weapons designed to bypass them completely." Gray watched as the Empire's perfect formation broke apart. Human ships darted between Imperial vessels, causing them to hit each other in the confusion. The tiny robots had turned their advanced targeting systems against them. Then came the final blow. Hundreds of hidden platforms activated throughout the solar system. Some were disguised as debris, others as civilian stations. They created a massive energy web, trapping the Imperial fleet in place. "This is Commander Stone," a familiar voice broadcast on all channels. "Your ships are now trapped in our containment field. This is your last chance to retreat." Max's face was red with fury. "Never. We are the Empire. We don't retreat." That's when they saw Earth's true weapons. Massive platforms emerged from secret bases on Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter's moons. They had hidden their real military might throughout the entire solar system, waiting for this moment. "You should have run," Stone's voice said calmly. The platforms fired. Not energy weapons or missiles, but gravity beams, technology the Empire thought impossible for humans to have. Imperial ships were crushed, torn apart, or flung into each other. They weren't primitive at all, Gray realized. Everything they showed us, every piece of simple technology, was just what they wanted us to see. In less than an hour, half the Imperial fleet was destroyed. The perfect formation was shattered. Their advanced weapons were useless, and their overwhelming numbers meant nothing against an enemy who had prepared for centuries. Max stared in horror as his fleet fell apart. How? How can they be this ready?" "Because," Gray answered, watching another wave of human ships approach. They'd been fighting wars since before we had spaceflight. We thought we were testing them, but they were testing us. And we failed. The Imperial War Council chamber was silent. On the massive display screen, they watched the last recordings from their defeated fleet. 2,000 Imperial warships had entered Earth's solar system. Less than 500 had escaped. Admiral Gray stood before them again, but this time no one was laughing at his warnings. "The humans let us retreat," he said, his voice echoing in the quiet chamber. "They could have destroyed every last ship, but they didn't. Instead, they sent this." He played Commander Stone's final message. The human's face appeared on screen, looking tired but determined. "You've seen what we can do now," Stone said. "Every weapon we used today was defensive. Every tactic was designed to minimize casualties. This wasn't a war. It was a demonstration. If you return, you'll face our offensive capabilities, and we won't hold back again." High General Max, his uniform no longer perfect, stood up shakily. "Impossible. No species could prepare defenses like that without us knowing. Their whole solar system was a trap. Because they think differently than us," Gray explained. "We build weapons to show our power. They build defenses to survive. Everything in their system, from the smallest satellite to their largest planet, was part of their defense plan." He brought up new images on the screen. "These are scans from the battle. Their ships didn't just have weapons. They could transform. Their civilian stations were military bases in disguise. Even their cargo ships carried hidden weapons." Council member Pete spoke up. "How long? How long have they been preparing for this?" "Since they first looked at the stars," Gray answered. "In their history, every time humans discovered new lands, they met both friends and enemies. So when they reached space, they prepared for both. Every piece of technology they built had a defensive purpose. Every system they created could be used for war if needed." He showed more battle footage. "Look how they fought. No standard tactics. No predictable patterns. Each ship, each weapon, worked differently. They didn't try to match our strength. They made our strength useless." "What do we do now?" someone asked quietly. Before anyone could answer, a new message arrived from Earth. The Council watched as Commander Stone appeared again. "We know you're deciding what to do next," Stone said. "So let us be clear. We don't want war. We don't want conquest. We just want to be left alone. Respect that, and we'll respect your borders too." The message ended, but then another file started playing. It showed Earth's full military capabilities, things they hadn't even used in the battle. Weapons that could destroy stars, ships that could vanish from existence, defenses that broke the laws of physics. "That's impossible," Max whispered. "Their technology was primitive." "No," Gray corrected him. "Their technology was focused. Everything they showed us at first was just the surface. Like their wars taught them, never reveal your true strength until you have to." The Council voted again. This time, it was unanimous. Earth and its solar system would be marked as forbidden territory. No Imperial ship would be allowed within 5 light-years of their space. As the Council members left, Pete stopped beside Gray again. "You know what's frightening?" The old Council member said. "They tried to warn us. They gave us every chance to walk away. In all our history of conquest, we've never met anyone like them. And we never will again," Gray replied. "Because humans don't just fight wars, they learn from them. Each conflict makes them stronger, smarter, more prepared. The Empire makes weapons. Humans make warriors." Days later, as the Empire's ships withdrew from Earth's space, a final message arrived for Gray. It was short, just a few words from Commander Stone. "Remember this the next time you find a primitive species. Sometimes, those who seem the weakest are the ones who have spent the most time preparing for war. We warned you to run. Next time, just listen." The Empire did listen. In the years that followed, stories spread about the humans who defeated the undefeatable Empire. But what aliens remembered most wasn't the battle, it was the warning. Because only the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy would try to avoid a fight they knew they would win. And so Earth was left in peace, not because aliens feared their weapons, but because they finally understood. Humans had mastered the most powerful weapon of all, the ability to learn from every fight, adapt to any enemy, and always be prepared for the worst. The Empire never had war with humans again. They didn't need to. One demonstration was enough.